Well, hi there. I'm Mrs. Applegarth, and this is Geometry, Chapter 7, Section 1. We are talking about ratios and proportions. Let me get my sweet highlighter pen out here. Boop. So the first thing I want to do is talk about what a ratio is. It's a quotient of two numbers. Quotient means division. So in order to, please remember, in order to have a ratio, you need to have two numbers. And there are three ways you can write a ratio. You can write it as A over B. You can write it as A colon B. And in English, we say A to B. A to B. Example 1, simplify the ratios, then simplify the fraction. So we're going to do these together. We have 12 centimeters to 4 meters. I don't blame you if you don't know. So I'm going to give you the conversions. So there are 100 centimeters and 1 meter. So we're going to go ahead and multiply. Four by 100, sorry. So our ratio is 12 over 400. And then you simplify this down. I know 4 goes into each of these. When I divide 12 by 4, I get 3. When I divide 400 by 4, I get 100. All right, next one, 6 feet to 18 inches. Remember, there are 12 inches in 1 foot. So we take our feet and we times it by 12. 6 times 12 is 72 over the 18. So we need our units to be the same. So we can't go feet over inches. It has to be inches over inches. So one of them has to get converted into the other's units, and I always find it's easier to take the bigger guy and multiply it. 72 divided by 18, well, 9 goes into both of those, and I believe, let's take a little tour, I believe 72 is divisible by 18. What? It is. So this is 4 to 1. Okay. The last one, 100 meters over 2 kilometers. There are 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. Let me make into 1 kilometer. So we're going to take the kilometers and multiply it by 1,000. So we get 100 meters over 2,000 meters. A fun way to simplify when you have zeros, you can knock off zeros 1 to 1 until you run out of zeros. And the ratio is 1 to 2. All right, let's get fun in here. Let's really start the fun. Perimeter of a rectangle is 216 degrees. Remember, the perimeter is where we add up all the sides. The ratio of the length to the width is 3 to 2. Find the length and the width. Okay, so the firstly, I of course draw the picture. I am a visual learner, so I need the picture. So we have a rectangle. When we add up all the sides, we get 2 lengths and 2 widths. So the formula for the perimeter is 2L plus 2W. They give us that the ratio of length to width is 3 to 2. So 3 over 2 is going to be the ratio of L to W. But we have an issue here. we look, if we test it, like 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10. So the length is not 3 and the width is not 2, but that's the ratio of how they are together. So when you get a ratio and you know that the amount is not equal to those because it doesn't match up with the other information, you have to put the x's with it. We are going to multiply the 3 and the 2 by some number x because it's going to blow these, the dimensions are blown up so that we can get a perimeter of 216. We just don't know what that is yet, and we will solve it. Oh, that's okay. Okay, so we'll go back over here. So our perimeter is 2 times length plus 2 times width. Length is 3x, width is 2x. So we go 2 times 3x plus 2 times 2x, because we don't know how blown up our rectangle is from the 3 to 2 ratio. 2 times 3x is 6x, 2 times 2x is 4x. Perimeter is 216. I didn't make it up, it's just sitting here. And 6x plus 4x is 10x. Divide both sides by 10. I erased some of it. And x is equal to 21.6 centimeters. Yay, we have x. We want to find the length and the width. Oh, so we have to go. Length is 3x, width is 2x. So it's going to be 3 times 21.6 and 2 times 21.6. When we do the math on our calculators, we get 64.8 centimeters and 43.2 centimeters. Yay, we did it. Good job, guys. All right, let's see how this applies to a triangle. Side lengths of a triangle are an extended ratio 3 to 4 to 5, 3 to 4 to 5. Not a coincidence, it's supposed to match these numbers. The perimeter, remember that's adding up all the sides, of the triangle is 98 inches. What is the length of the longest side? So remember, the perimeter is when we add all the items, all the sides together. So 3 plus 4 is 7, 7 plus 5 is 12. 12 is obviously smaller than 98. So there's some factor that we're going to multiply 3, 4, and 5 by to get the perimeter up to 98. And we're actually solving for that number. So here's our sides added up. It's going to be equal to 98. So now we're going to add together our x's. So 3 plus 4 is 7, 7 plus 5 is 12. 12x is equal to 98. We divide both sides by 12, and we get x is approximately 8.2. It doesn't want us to find x, it actually wants the longest side. So we take that 8.2 and we divide it, or we multiply it by 5. 8.2 times 5 is 41, and that's the answer. All right, a proportion. A proportion is 2 equal ratios. 2 equal ratios. So in order to have a proportion, you need to have 2 ratios and an equal sign. Okay, it doesn't, as long as they're equal, it's a proportion. Cross product property, the cross products of a proportion are equal to each other. So the cross products are, it makes a little X. So what they're trying to say is AD is equal to CB. AD is the product of the extremes, or the outer parts, and BC is the product of the means, or the inner parts. You can swap, this is just fun to do, you can swap the extremes or the means in a proportion. So I can switch C and B, or I can switch A and D. Reciprocal property, if two ratios are equal, then their reciprocals are equal, and this is like A over B, C over D. If I just switched all of them, B over A equals C over D. Semicolon. Okay. And then you can use these properties to make it easier when you're solving proportions and manipulating proportions. So feel free to use any of these properties if it makes solving your proportions easier. Okay, so you're going to see it like 4 over x equals 5 over 7. So we're going to go 5 times x equals 4 times 7. And then solve for x. Divide by 5. Oops, that's not right. And then 28 divided by 5, whoop, is 5.6. So you take the cross product and then you solve for x. Let's look at b. We're going to multiply 3 times y and 2 times y plus 2. We get 3y, and we get 2 times y is 2y. 2 times 2 is 4. Subtract 2y for both sides. And we get y equals 4. Okay, now we're getting it. So we're going to go 3 minus x times 2 and 6 times x. 3 minus x times 2 equals 6x. Distribute out the 2, so it's 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times minus x is minus 2x. And that's equal to 6x. We add 2 x's to both sides. And we get 6 is equal to 8x. We divide both sides by 8. And we get x equals 3 halves. If you want to write it as 1.5 or, you know, want to simplify it down more, you can. All right, lastly but not leastly, this d, we get 9 times x equals 6 times 14, which is 84. Divide both sides by 9. X is 28 over 3, or 9 1/3, or 9.3 repeater. All right, this is more, proportions were more of Algebra 1 skill, so hopefully that is review. More properties of proportions. If A over B equals C over D, then A over C equals B over D. You can switch the B and C. I like this one. It's fun. If you have a proportion and you add the denominator to the top of the left, like I add a B here and I add a D here, your proportion stays equal. All right, let's go use those for fun. Okay, so if P over 6 equals R over Q, R over 10, then P over R equals 3/5. Tell whether the statement is true. So I'm going to use, because it doesn't have a plus sign, I'm going to switch the C and the B. So I'm going to switch 6 and R. So the P and the 10 stay the same. Where the R is, I'm going to put a 6, and where the 6 was, I'm going to put an R. So it says P over R equals 3/5. Let's reduce 6/10 down. Six divided by 2 is 3. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Yes, P over R does equal 3/5. All right, let's take a look at B. If A over 3 equals C over 4, then A plus 3 equals C plus 3 over 4. When we go to use this property here, it's supposed to be whatever's on the bottom on the left adds on the left. Whatever's on the bottom on the right adds on the top on the right. So it should look like A plus 3 over 3 and C plus 4 over 4. But let's go ahead and multiply these through. Just to double check. So if I were to take this and do the cross products, it would be 4A plus 12 equals 3C plus 9. Let's go ahead and minus 9. 4A plus 3 equals 3C. And that in no way represents what's going on here, which I guess if we do the cross products, it'd be like 4A equals 3C. So we can see not equal at all. So just keep an eye on it. It should be the same number top and bottom on each side. So, alrighty. Complete the sentence. A over 12 equals C over 3. Then A over C equals, So let's go ahead and use the property that says we can switch these guys up. So we're going to go A over C equals 12 over 3. 12 over 3 reduces to, if I divide by 3, it's, sorry. I thought I already did the dividing. It's equal to 4 over 1. All right, let's finish this. 13 over Q equals 10 over 2. 13 plus Q over Q equals what over what? So let's go ahead and use the property. So we're going to take 10 and add 2 to it. So here's our 10. Add 2. Bottom stays 2. What's 10 plus 2? 12. Over 2. Let's go ahead and reduce that down. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And 2 divided by 2 is 1. Reduces down to 6 over 1. Okay. We have a boat in a bottle. The length of the actual boat is 882.75 feet, and the width is 92.4 feet. Your bottle is 22 inches long. How wide will the bottle have to be to properly scale the boat? So I put the dimensions on our ship. It is 882.75 feet long and 92.4 wide. And I have represented it like this. I guess we don't get a three-dimensional because we don't know how thick it is, but that's okay. And we have a 22-inch bottle, and we don't know how wide our bottle is, so we're going to go ahead and calculate that. So when we're putting together proportions, I like to think of it in chunks. So the actual boat versus the model boat. So I'm going to put width of the actual over the length of the actual, and it's going to equal the width of the model over the length of the model. So that's going to look like 92.4, which is the actual width, over 882.75, which is the actual length. It's going to be equal to x, the actual width, or the model width, over 22, which is the bottle length. So we're going to do some cross multiplying. 92.4 times 22 is 2032.8, and then x times 882.75. Divide both sides by 882.75, and we get x is equal to 2.3 inches. So our width has to be 2.3 inches on our ship to get it to scale in the bottle. All right, my darlings, I am going to scroll through the answers. This is your win for getting through. This is where you find the answers to your textbook problems. So I want you to do the practice problems and then come back here, pause and check your answers. And that's all for our lesson today.